Joe, a defensive defenseman on an expiring contract just fetched a first-round pick and a prospect today. So I can't imagine what you might have been able to get for a guy in an expiring contract who's a 30-goal scorer. Did that ever cross your mind as to, I mean, there must have been some push and pull, and you must have had to consider everything. But in the end, I assume you thought that having Tomas there for 8 years was better than getting some uncertain futures.
Yeah, we've always been committed to signing him to this contract. We didn't even look at the market really as far as this. It wasn't a give or take. It was fully committed to signing him here because we recognize the importance of a top line center. And now we, again, for a long period of time, we have two of them in Tomas and Logan, and that's our building block right there down the middle. So that was our commitment first and foremost. We are, recognizing the market and now's the time, and players are going for picks and prospects. But again, at that time, that's a different direction for the organization. That's taking a step backwards and building and such. And this is this is a commitment to winning now, a commitment to pushing forward, and quite frankly, Tomas is a known quantity in that number one center position, along with Logan, and they're extremely hard to get, no matter what you have in picks and prospects.
Right. And to follow up, if I may, it appears that Jacob Middleton's name has been surfacing an awful lot in the last couple of days. You've obviously got a decision to make on him over the next 3 or 4 days here. Can you sort of update us on where things are at and where things might be headed with that?
Well, I don't comment on any specific players. I will say that I've talked to every general manager in the league numerous times. You go up and down your roster, just trying to, you ask about somebody on the other team, they ask about your player, and you go back and forth with it. And I'm not going to really comment on anything outside of that. We listen. We listen every year, and who knows what'll happen by Monday. There's still a long time between now and Monday, and we're going to listen. And if the move makes sense for us, I can, people ask if you're a buyer or seller. I say we're a listener, and you're a listener because if it's a great deal for the franchise, now or the future, you have to weigh it, and that's what we're looking at. So we know that we're trying to replenish and get some talent into this roster to help. It's been a very hard-working roster this year. We have a very talented core. We have some young prospects that the prospect pool has, I think, elevated this season. We put a lot into our lineup, and now it's a chance to just kind of be patient with their picks, prospects, and opportunities, and do what's good for us at the trade deadline and moving forward.
Thanks, Joe.
Corey.
Joe, Tomas mentioned some chats between you and him, or maybe with his agent. What was the recruiting pitch to keep Tomas Hertl?
Well, not necessarily a pitch. What it is it's a lot of transparency. This is a human business, and you need to be transparent with the positives, with what you have, and where your challenges are, and you have to partner up in that, and you have to have some accountability for the process. So being just real honest with what we are and where we're going. Again, I go back to we feel we've made some strides in the area of being a competitive team. Our in some of our areas, such as penalty killing, that's been good. Blocking shots, some kind of physical commitment that our players have made. And what we probably need is a little more scoring, a little more talent to build around. And we think a lot of that's coming. We've held on to our picks in 2020 and 2021, and the intention is to do so in 2022. And the prospect pool has really grown. You go to the external groups that look into that, such as the Athletic and others, and they we've seen the prospect pool over the past years went kind of in the low 20s, and I think 14, we were 14th in one, we were 12th in another, so we're making progress there. We were this season we had the most rookies in the lineup, I think at 15, and we had the most rookie games at over 300. So, we're not only replenishing the prospect pool, but we're in that middle group of guys that are even a little more ready. We're bringing them into the NHL and giving them the opportunity. So internally, that's really, going 100 miles an hour in as far as, working within our picks and prospects there. And then, moving forward, it's always a challenge in the salary cap. It is for every team to make choices and such, but we will do what we can to, work in all markets to try and add players and more like not just add players, it just make adjustments that help us be a little deeper and add to the talent along with our work ethic.
That was sort of my follow-up, was like, obviously you guys have a lot of cap space committed over the next few years. How do you sort of see yourselves going about sort of filling in the holes and finding more scoring, like you mentioned?
Yeah, and that's it. You look, if you're able to draft, that's generally your best way. That you're able to use a pick that you've earned and get a prospect, develop that prospect. Sometimes it's quicker. Sometimes it takes longer, but that's generally your best prospect to get a player at a value cost, and you can kind of grow with them throughout their contract years and everything else. The next best is just to do some good pro scouting and go through and find some players on value contracts and or make some trades that help out, and that's it. It's a series of adjustments, and that's what it has to be, and that's what all teams in the league are doing at really at all levels. It's just a constant series of adjustments. So it's give and take with the salary cap. It always is. You can't just collect and build on there. You have to maybe trim in an area you have a little bit more to add in an area that you need a little bit more of. And that's what we work as a staff constantly to identify, where we're a little stronger, where we're a little weaker, what we can move back and forth to boost those areas.
Thanks.
Shang. Go to Shang.
Hey, Joe, congratulations to yourself and the organization. You mentioned the commitment to winning. Does this commitment to Tomas, this contract, we've talked a lot with Doug about sort of the replenishing and resetting and all that. Is it fair to say that this accelerates the reset?
Well, Hassel's always committed to any resource that we possibly need to have success here, and that's the most important thing. So we have the financial commitment to sign players here. We and the other part is we've kept our picks for a few years, and as we've talked about, I think in the past 15 years, we've only picked in the top 26 times. And, we've done quite well in there. Logan, Hertl, Meier, and Eklund last year. I think Norris was in there, and Mueller. But we've some big building blocks of our team have been through there. We've had 5 drafts where we didn't have a pick, and so just keeping the picks alone and being in the range we were, especially last year, we were able to add Eklund, and then we were able to come back and get some extra picks a year before in 2020, and we have a pool of about 6 forwards with Eklund, Bordelot, Gushkin, Coe, Weisblatt, Robbins, and then a defenseman again, a Larac, a goaltender, and Benjamin Gaudreau. Just out of these last 2 drafts, we have some other players as well, but those 8 have had really nice performance trends, and so we think that's trending. Keeping picks, picking well, developing them. That's part of the progress, and that's really the commitment is to just keeping everything going. I can't say there's one particular way that we're going to move forward, but we'll use combination of free agency when we can, trades when we can, and keeping these picks and using them and developing them.
And in this process with Tomas, we've been writing, talking about it since the summertime. Was there ever any, I guess, time that you were concerned that maybe he wouldn't come back? Can you just, I guess, describe that whole process since the summer or whenever you guys started talking with Tomas and his agent seriously about this?
Well, I'm respectful to the choice of any unrestricted free agent. It's their opportunity in their career to explore the market. They've earned that. They've negotiated for that right, and they've earned the right to look at the marketplace. And we try to give him his space to do that. And then we've tried to go forward and say, well, why us? And have a transparent conversation about where we're going, backing it up with with an offer. And that was really the process. So unrestricted free agency, I respect that. The players have earned that right, and it's been negotiated for, bargained for, and they have that. That's why it's even more special now, when Tomas chooses to stay with the Sharks, because he did have options. I didn't necessarily had a worry that he was going to go. I know he likes it here. But I also knew that it's a very hard process. It's a very hard choice that he has to make, and I respected that. And I would respect his decision either way. I obviously like it much better this way, but it's he's earned that right to do that.
Curtis?
Hey, Joe. We were talking to Erik Karlsson a couple of weeks ago, and he said, the organization's got a decision make as to what direction it wants to go in. Do you feel this sends a good message to the room, and to players like Erik in particular, that you guys are not gonna, want to take a step back here? You want to sign Tomas and keep going forward, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's it's one thing to have a collection of good people, which we certainly do. We've always been known to have a lot of good players and good team guys there, but also to have that high level of compete. And I've seen that this year with this group. And so I think we've started, and that's you don't have much if you don't have that high level of compete. We're working on that. We've made some strides with, and you can see it in the players, how they play for each other. And that's because they truly do care for each other. And you can, when you play well together as a group, special things can happen. I think Tomas feels that, and we've done that for a number of years with the Sharks. And it's just kind of getting that feeling back of that the group is playing as one and everything else. So Erik's absolutely right in saying that we have a lot of work to do. We do, to get back in, but then to build a championship level. And he's not the only one. We have some very hard and transparent conversations back and forth where we put it on the table. You're not going to get better unless you do. There's when you don't make the playoffs, when you when you fall short of winning it all, you have hard conversations, and part of it is that we have to have that fire, that competitive level. I think the way the team played this year, that's coming back, and we'll it's up to management to secure players, to have players in the right positions at the right talent level, and then it's up to the coaches to make the best out of it, and it's up to players to hold each other accountable. So it's really it's all of us together, and that's what we've talked about.
You mentioned some of the top prospects in the organization, Eklund, Bordelot, a few others. Realistically, how far away are they from being regular NHL players? I know sometimes it's tough to forecast, but given your experience, what you know about these guys, how far away from being in the lineup on a regular basis are some of these players?
Well, it's a deeper prospect pool, so the likelihood that somebody's going to emerge, usually if I say player X, then it's player Y that jumps up, or vice versa. It always seems to happen that way. the one you think, it's always the other one that maybe you just worked a little hard in the summer or whatever. I think with the group of prospects, it's just a better group, a better pedigree, better accomplishments, everything else. You know, they're quite frankly, a lot of them were picked higher. And that's what we hadn't necessarily had. You know, a few years ago it was more free agents and later round picks, and you know, kind of little short on the first, second, third, fourth round type picks within there. And now that we have that, you know, history tells you the likelihood is much greater, and by their performance as you look, you know, with the Brandon Coe's leading the or being a league leader most of the year in the Ontario League, Gushkin's up there, Robbins is up there, you know, Bordelot with his tremendous work over the past few years at Michigan, and Eklund, who we saw here, and Ozzie Weisblatt, you know, who's a very competitive player as well. It's you know, that group there. We saw Eklund here last year. I don't know why he couldn't, you know, come back in and just plug into how he was. We saw him; he was able to play at this level last year. We just felt that you know, the history tells us at 18 it's a little bit young. You can get hurt and other things. So I think coming back in his 19-year-old year is probably more likely to take a jump. And then again, Bordelot, two good years at Michigan, and the other players being league leaders. So I think it really could be any of them. But on the other hand, we're not going to over promote, and we're not going to really plug them in before they're ready. So we'll use the Barracuda as we need to as well.
You look at the Panthers last night, they were able to add some guys on value deals, like Duclair came over, and Carter Hagee and Mason Marchment. You know, these guys weren't paid a whole lot last year, as far as if I remember correctly. Do you have to explore that avenue as much as anything, really, if you want to be competitive position again next year? Just trying to find those diamonds in the rough, I guess.
Absolutely, they've done a tremendous job with it, and that's you know, and kudos to them. And there's been a lot of other teams that they've done that as well, and we do look in that market. You know, Barabanov in a minor trade, kind of coming in and doing that. You know, there's a trade a few deadlines ago with Jonathan Dahlin to where we had him come in, and you know, other players that we acquired this summer again also helped us to at the same time be more competitive. So it was you know, we added some pieces last summer, and you know, we'll look to add more this summer as well.
Shang?
Joe, speaking of Barabanov and actually Andrew Cogliano, they're both pending UFAs. Yeah, can you say anything about just you know, your idea of what you want to do with them and how they fit into future plans for you guys?
I think, you know, I'm not going to go into specifics on an individual. I'll just talk about the process, and the process is really to you know, take a look at everybody's, you know, contribution, then try and figure out, you know, in this type of market what that means to a contract moving forward, and then you look internally at your alternatives of players that you may have coming in or other alternatives that way, and you look externally. You say, you know, it's just can I make an upgrade here by doing something different? And that's a process. I don't want to tag it to one individual player, but that's really the process with everybody that we look at, you know, and the key in that is really in a cap situation is value, is you know, performance meeting or exceeding compensation. And that's what we need to do as much as we can. And you know what, you're going to have players that end up, everybody's not going to have their best year every year, but you know, overall you have to have that trend. The more value you can get out of your contracts and your you know, and within your scouting and the prospects that you bring in and things like that, the more success you're going to have. So, you know, a lot of effort and focus have been placed in that.
And I have to ask you about what's going on with the Evander Kane situation, because obviously that matters a lot for just your cap situation and whatnot. Is there any hearing dates set, you know, anything like that you can tell us?
Well, that's in the league's hands, and I can't comment on that situation.
Corey?
Joe, now that you've had like a couple hours to like feel good about the Tomas Hertl thing, Timo Meier is the next one down the pipe. Is that do you do you look at this and say, okay, now that we have Tomas in the fold, we kind of have to get Timo done? I know you can't officially talk to him until the summer or whatever, but like the next 4 or 5 years of this whole project kind of hinges now on, it kind of hinged on both of them all along, but now you have one done and you have to get the other one done too.
Well, he's a huge part of this franchise, and we all know that, a building block, and that is one of the next steps that we have to look at. And like I said, it's a series of adjustments. You know, you see what you can do, you know, in certain areas, and can you find a few dollars here? Can you make a few moves here and do things like that? And that's all, you know, really in place. You have, you know, your group that you build around, and then you have your group underneath that kind of fill in some pieces. Obviously, you know, Timo goes into that group with Tomas and others that you build around. So we know that that's upcoming. We don't just look for tomorrow and 1 year out, but, you know, we'll often do, you know, 3-year plans, 5-year plans, and even on longer term contracts, we'll go out a little beyond there. So we play around with things. We say, how's this going to work? You know, who's in, who's out, who's moved around, what do you need to do? And there's been a lot of that planning.